Talking about you got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast, where, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but it's not limited to, Mr. Sylvia. What's poppin', baby? How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm chilling. Another day in the life.
Let's go.
How's life?
My life is good. I'm not complaining. How are you doing?
I'm
You came
chilling.
back from Brazil?
A beautiful place.
Oh, my
Beautiful
goodness.
place. It was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. You been min clicking away?
I've been min clicking a good bit.
All
We
right.
got some big bets in there now,
Oh,
too.
shit.
In the mix, yeah.
All right.
Who cares? It's capped.
It's
so-
actually super capped in some of the
Yeah,
games.
it's just like a flip, you know?
The game that I helped start a lot actually caps it at 30 big, so you'd be disgusted, Berkey.
Get Osmus in there.
I
Apparently,
thought you were going
that's
to say
his
capped at
wheelhouse.
30 bets. That would be great.
That is exactly Osmus's wheelhouse, isn't
Yeah,
it?
nobody knows the legend of Jeremy Osmus. What was his name on Full Tilt? Chip Stealer, maybe?
Oh, it's still his
I think
name.
it's like Chip Taker.
Chip Taker?
No,
maybe?
The Taker.
The Taker? No, I don't know. Anyway,
Chip
he
Checker?
was- Chip Checker, maybe.
That's his name now. Chip
I don't
Checker,
know.
I think.
Whatever it was, he was a capped game legend back in the day on Full Tilt before he made the final table of the main, and it all changed for him.
Mm-hmm.
Got him in the tournament. Honestly, I mean, if you're a cap game legend, tournaments might be the path.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we're gonna play a lot of 20 big blind poker.
Yeah.
How good can people be? You know.
Start clicking it back all the time.
What's your take on that debate between the more complex version of poker, cash or MTTs?
I mean, I don't think it's a debate personally, because I think that if you want to be truly elite at MTTs, you have to learn the stack sizes that are used in cash anyways. Obviously, it plays a little differently because there's an ante, but if you want to be truly elite at MTTs, you have to learn 100 big blinds deep, 200 big blinds deep.
Do you?
I mean, if you really want to, you could late reg
I knew
everything.
you were going to push
but-
back on that one.
Well, I just don't think your win rate in those early levels really account for much, if any, ROI.
Well, okay, so are we debating what is the harder thing to study if you're trying to shortcut stuff, or what is the harder thing to study in general?
I think it's clear that there's more to study for MTTs as far as like the breadth of knowledge necessary, because you have to know so many various stack depths, right?
Yeah.
But I think the depth of knowledge necessary is magnitudes larger for cash, because you actually have to go deeper into the tree.
I think I see what you're saying. Like, you're constantly 400 bigs deep, right? Whereas in tournaments, you're barely ever. I think
Turn and river play isn't like the mistakes that they're fighting over here, if you want to qualify it, they're inaccuracies in cash. You know what I mean? It's like being perfect on your turn and river play at an SPR of 1 or sub 1. It's like we're talking about like hundreds of big blinds difference in EV.
Yeah.
Where like that same error in cash could be massive. You know, it could be the difference between being a winner and a loser.
Yeah. I think.
Or I should say at SPRs of like 10 plus.
I mean, playing 400 big blinds deep is clearly a lot more complex and difficult than playing 30 big blinds deep. I will say the mistakes that people who play deep stack cash that just come over and play a random tournament make at 30 big blinds deep would surprise you how probably bad they are.
It wouldn't, but like breaking it down to a math, like I think you're correct. I think the mistakes are astronomical.
Yeah.
But like when you just break it down to sheer math, the amount of big blinds per 100 that they could be losing in those nodes is
No, you're absolutely right.
It's small.
I mean, there's a reason why cash game guys can come over to tournaments and be at least somewhat competitive, and tournament players go to cash games and it's often a disaster,
Right.
Comparatively.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I guess in theory, in studying, I think MTTs is harder, but in practice, it's easier because you just end up playing really short.
Onboarding, like getting to a level of competency in cash is easier than MTTs.
Yeah, especially if you play online where you're just playing 100 big blinds deep because you see the same scenarios over and over again.
Yeah.
Once you get into like, I'm going to sit in Bobby's room with 700 bigs and we have an ante on and there's a 7 deuce game, like shit gets real crazy real fast.
It feels like it's like comparing apples and oranges.
In
a way, right? Because
I think
it's like,
in a way, yeah.
Yeah, you're literally studying two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like how deep you go down one and how deep you go down the other one. So it's just like, yeah, for cash, you really need to study turn river play. It's deep. You go down a rabbit or down to the game tree further. But in tournaments, it's just, it's so complex pre-flop and on the flop. So I don't know. It's just different.
It's not complex. That's the point.
All right. Well, complex or nuanced, I know. There's a difference.
There's a huge difference there.
Right.
It's actually not complex.
It's not complex. It's more nuanced.
But it's quite nuanced. Where you can, Marley put out a really funny video the other day.
I saw that where she's talking to the solver.
Yeah, she's talking to the solver, asking if she should jam.
Yeah.
And it goes, how deep are you? She goes, 20 blinds. He goes, jam. And then she goes, no, 22 blinds. He goes, absolutely don't jam. But what's harder? And then she goes, 25 blinds. He's going, no, you have to jam. It's such a mistake not to jam.
What's harder to study or to learn or master, nuance or complexity?
Well, harder to master, complexity. Harder for humans to study, probably nuance. You can actually just run this if you want. I think it's really funny, even though it's an ad for BBZ. They do good work. Are they hearing this?
Give me one.
Or was it 20?
A shove is winning 18 big blinds.
21.
A shove is losing 40 big blinds.
Out of 320.
Making it a profitable shove.
Or was it 320?
Do not shove.
Okay, cool.
Unless the chip leader raised.
I think he did.
Then you must shove. Listen. This is vital what I'm telling you. You must shove. It will be a fatal mistake if you don't do your copy.
Yes.
Unless he was big chip leader. Is he a lot more than everybody else?
I forgot.
Okay, forget everything I just told you. What were the other stacks at the table?
All different sizes.
This is very important. The fate of the free world depends on it. What was the shortest stack?
18 blinds.
Shove.
But everyone was calling really light.
Do not shove.
But it was
Do not shove.
I'm at 5 million in makeup.
Shove. No, don't go there. Stay with me. Make it simple. Shove. 73% of the time.
I'm going to BBZ.
Wait.
Goodbye.
Don't go.
Blunder.
That's good.
So good.
Yo, that animation of the solver talking was subtly really, it was really good.
It was just, the whole thing was really fucking good.
Yeah.
Her videos just get better and better over time. Like usually you see them
because there's so
draw
much
out.
truth to it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I do think, like, to your point, Brian, like, I think that is the hurdle a lot of people face, where it's so nuanced. You just get you almost get washed over.
Yeah.
By the inability to simplify. But yeah, I think the actual complexity, like the better way to frame this, I think, is which format would you have a more difficult time? Maybe that's not the right way to frame it. But I was gonna say, which format would you have a more difficult time building a bot that wins for? And it actually might be MTTs,
right?
Because of
I think
how
it
variable
is.
in nature.
Right.
The fact that there's ICM at different ICM situations in different parts of the tournament make it incredibly complex for a bot to win at.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Again, like, it's not that it's a complexity.
It's a memorization thing almost.
Take the human element out of it, right? Because if you were programming a bot, like, it would have access.
Exactly.
It's not that it's the complexity; it's the variable nature in it. So it's like, in order for a bot to receive the true variables at hand, you end up with like a unique scenario every single time. This stack distribution is unique to the last stack, and there's no real great way to model for that. So like any abstraction that you come up with is going to have a lot of inaccuracies. And I think that's why tournaments are like such a popular format. The irony on the other side of that is that they're extremely popular because there's a leveling effect of how much a human can actually learn with all this uniqueness. But the other side of that coin is there's not a lot of win rate available either, because where the errors and blunders occur and the EVs exchange and all this other stuff, variance just really takes a stranglehold on all. At the end of the day, you're still playing very shallow poker, right? Like, you could create a very nuanced game out of push fold poker, where like the rat hole games, for instance. Let's say that stacks just reset every hand instead of building up and whatnot, and it was just always 5 big blinds, and you only played push fold. You could create some nuance out of that, but at the end of the day, like variance is often going to pick the winner.
There's probably a lot of win rate. It's just you can't realize it.
There can't be a lot of win rate. If it's a 5 big blind game and always 5 big blinds, the max win rate is going to be pretty capped around sub 5 big blinds.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true. Right.
And obviously tournaments don't work that way because it's not chip EV, right? There's a prize pool attached. But again, it's the idea of like what we were going through with the survivor pool, where it's everything is dependent. Even though the hands are all independent of one another, they are a dependent string of events that occur in order to get to the finality of winning.
But like
the
if people
ultimate
are
prize.
making huge ICM mistakes, then there's a lot of win rate.
Sort of.
Yeah, because I mean, all the money is at the end too. So yeah,
and it's also it's not a 1-to-1 exchange. So like your ICM error doesn't necessarily benefit me. If I'm chip leading and you're second in chips and you fuck up, I also get fucked.
Right.
And now these idiot short stacks are the ones benefiting. You know what I mean? I think
I always go in deep in the tournament short stacked.
Right.
So I can take advantage of the ICM blenders.
No one can fuck you,
taking
Brian.
a knee before.
Listen, guys, I've been telling you this whole time. This is the way to do it.
Hey, nobody can fuck you. You're the shorty.
Exactly.
You just get to run free.
I just sit here and wait for people to make mistakes.
That's right. Be free, young man.
Yes.
Be free.
I will say there's kind of a nuance. If you're going to have the debate of like cash versus tournaments and what's harder, what type of cash game you're using as the cash example also really matters, because if you're playing 100 big blinds deep with rake online poker, and let's just say for sake of argument you're playing only 100 big blinds deep, that's a relatively easy format to study.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a good
maybe not to solve, but to study.
Yeah,
for sure.
like a good example of that is all right, so low jack opens, your hijacker cutoff. Like a lot of solvers, especially with rake, just play 3-better folds almost exclusively. Now you just have like a couple of nodes post flop where there's almost no multi-way pots because of that. Yeah, like you have to play a ton of multi-way pots, 3 and 4-way pots, which are really hard to study and really hard to solve. And there's just so many variables there. So it's like, now if we're talking like, I can uncapped buy-in with an anti-poker, like that's cash game. Like that's a
squid game. And
if you throw that stuff in, it's wild. But like that stuff is very complicated.
There's a lot of games in cash where we don't even have ranges.
It's very complicated, yes. Let's get it in and flip. 4s versus ace queen for 300 big blinds apiece.
Hey man, we're out here simplifying shit. I like it.
But yeah, I mean, like there's just now beginning to be headway of getting like reasonable ranges for a lot of ICM scenarios. There's a lot of cash scenarios where like we haven't even scratched the surface of getting ranges pre.
And you mean like in your game type scenarios?
Like progressive squid.
Yeah, stuff
with,
like that.
Increase like bounty bonuses and stuff like that. Like there just aren't ranges. The best we can do is like model for what folding cost us and understand that there's a new equilibrium where folding is no longer 0.
Do you think there's ever a possibility of ranges for such games?
I think, yeah, with enough computing power and smart people doing things, like all of these answers exist, but they exist like in the same ether as what is God, and you know what I mean? Like there's a clear answer of is there or is there not a God,
You'll just
and
never
it
know.
may even be an ambiguous answer of like yes and yes, like there is and there is not. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Just like there's a clear answer to solve multi-way no limit Texas Hold'em for certain depths, or all depths, I should say, but the ability to access said answer may just be beyond our scope.
Makes sense.
And that's great. It keeps things alive. It's why we've talked about this for a long time, but there was a period, I think, between like 2018 and 2020, just pre-pandemic, where I think people had written No Limit Hold'em off as dead. It was just a dying game. Like solvers had really come in and ruined things. People were getting a hold of pre-flop ranges for the
They're
first
like,
time.
oh, it's tic-tac.
Floptimal
Yeah.
became a thing.
Wow.
You know,
Flexing on them.
Shout out to
What can you do,
Floptimal.
man? Sometimes you have a great solver company come in and just
just came in,
just
ruined the game.
games. What can you do?
And I think that, being on the mic throughout that time in different capacities, my stance was always just like, just relax. There are iterations. Like, there are so many things you can do to the game that alter this. We're going to be fine. You can add third blinds. You can remove a blind. You can add antes. You can just do things that encourage multi-way action. And the second that, because I just came from a live realm and I just know how complex multi-way is. So it's just like, the second that we create formats that encourage multi-way action, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be thriving again.
Because it breaks everything.
You could go play pot limit, deuce to 7, low ball, drama.
That's a dead game.
It's coming back, bro.
Now
That's a dead game. It was never alive because I don't know if they ever went about figuring that one out.
It's been strapped on the table with hooked up to fucking it's Lifeline for a long time now. We're seeing where it's going. But now post pandemic, seeing the emergence of things like Squid Game, stand up game, the big ante format is another great one where it's very rare you'll see a heads up pot. I play in an app where it's a half a big blind ante per person. Monster. So like when the game's full, you're looking at 4.5 big blinds in the middle.
That's fun. That like incentivizes a lot of limping, which people aren't used to as well and stuff.
Yeah, like you look at ranges for this, and like you're supposed to be V-pipping like 50% on average.
I'll never forget when they did the ante-only tournament.
Yeah. Stars used to do it, and then WSOP did.
WSOP did it, and I'm sitting there. It's like level 12, and the big blind is still 25.50 or whatever, and everyone's anteing 500 chips, and people are just limping, not limping. They're just folding.
I was so mad. So I had such a soft table, and I obviously, being the limp king, fucking got it. I'm just V-pipping 100, and I'm at this great table. Ivy comes and sits down, plays for 5 minutes and busts, and then Pearl Jam takes his spot. And I'm bulldozing this table, just collecting all the chips. And John just can't keep his fucking mouth shut. Albeit he was to my right, so I could see a reason why he would want to stop. But he just basically tells the whole table the strategy of like, why aren't you guys limping? It's 1/100th of the pot to just limp. How are you guys not all fucking limping? Exactly. It's like, dude, I'm out here stealing blinds by limping, and you're gonna shit on this?
I'm sure that's how some people felt when I was playing Deuce
so
to
mad.
7 because like a lot of people helped me throughout my little run in there.
Yeah.
Like I remember John being one of them. Just like telling me my mistakes as I'm going. I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
That's actually something really nice about mixed game. They will quite often help you out.
Yeah, especially if they know you're completely
That's
lost.
Yeah.
They're just
Trying to grow the
people.
game.
I used to when I busted tournaments at the World Series, there was I forget it was 2040 or 4080 mixed game. And I would get a glass of wine and sit down and be like, I will donate my money if you guys tell me what mistakes I'm making. And they were super cool about it. And if I was playing the wrong game, they'd like give me half my money back or whatever. Sometimes I had to threaten to leave, and they're like, just give him all of his money.
We
It's
love
unbelievable.
We love Wine Jesse.
That's great.
Do you think that they're so willing to share information because nobody's actually winning, but there are people who are losing?
Wait, what?
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I assume that you guys pay some sort of rake or time.
Yeah, but it's like the same amount of time as you'd pay for the equivalent no limit game.
Yeah, but it's like what, one big bet a half, 2 big bets maybe.
No, it's like $8 a half an hour.
No, in Mike's game, isn't it like $250 a down?
No, Mike's game is I think we take 35. So they do like I think it's like 30 for the rake, and then we also give like a $25 tip to the dealer or something like that.
That's so cheap.
Yes.
Yeah, we pay $250 a half.
Do you guys just do like a run out or something for it?
Yeah, it's like a 8-way $300 flip.
Nice.
A lot of the games are split pot, so the flip gets chopped up or whatever.
Gotcha.
Unless
Okay.
I'm in the flip.
Right, 'cause
and then
obviously you just
sometimes
run
you swoop
pure,
it with
right?
the ace high. And
My point that I was ultimately getting
ace
at
high
is
low,
like,
I should say.
my point that I was ultimately getting at is like losers are losing like single digit big blinds per 100, and you guys are all chopping up like a quarter big blind each.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because it does feel like every game I've played in, it feels like everyone's reasonably competent. And like, you know, like maybe I think I'm better at like triple draw, right? But like I'm definitely worse at other games. So it does feel a little bit like that in a way. But somebody's winning and somebody's losing.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating the point.
At the Jewel,
Sure.
of course, you got to go back to the Jewel. They have like I think it's like $3, $6 like Omaha high low. And
no one's beating that game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so like I think
that might not be beat.
No, I think it's $5 capped rake plus $2 for like the bonus stuff.
And it's a split puck game.
And it's a split puck game. I'm telling you, there's probably not one winner in that game, which is insane.
There can't
play
be.
it and play and play and play.
They're actually,
and every single person is losing.
I would estimate that there actually can't be. I mean, they're taking one big bet per pot.
Per cap pot.
Well, almost every pot's going to be capped. It's a split pot game.
That's true.
Right? So they're taking one big bet per pot, and you're playing a chop pot game. Like,
over a big bet per pot.
It would be so impossible to be winning.
Right.
I mean,
see, that's
it's
insane.
like impossible.
But even when you're playing 40-80, they're taking what, like $7 a half hour. So what is that? If you play, I mean, we play 7-handed a lot, but like 8-handed, that'd be $56. So it's like a little more than half of a big bet.
Yeah, but it's divided amongst you, so it really is only $7.
Yeah,
because it's time or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. The point is that again, like when we look at poker as a whole, there's a reason why no limit hold'em cash games have survived so long. It's because they have the highest available win rate. Like they actually, for better or for worse, are the lowest variance format that's available. When you look at limit hold'em, when you look at tournaments, even whenever you look at PLO, those structures are all relatively high variance, which reduces the overall win rate available. And now rake becomes a major factor. And that's true of online too. And it's the big reason that's true of online is because it's a dinosaur format. They only play 2 blinds, no ante. You know what I mean? Like they just play 100 big blind poker with 2 fixed blinds, no ante, no reason to encourage multi-way action, 6 max, whatever. And now the rake is like a really, really big concern because win rates keep regressing down to 0.
Yeah.
When you monkey wrench, although I will say that like I think Squid Game adds a level of variance that now makes no limit hold'em that format relatively low win rate also. I think it levels out any skill because there's really no turn and river play.
Well, I guess it depends on how deep you are, right?
Yeah, but it's really tough. It becomes kind of like tournament-esque in that regard, where anytime someone goes broke, they're never incentivized to buy in for more than the min because there's just like so much EV attached to being short. So
does this come up more on the app? Because I feel like if somebody was just min buying in, really at Bobby's room, they don't get like booted if they rebuy for the min a bunch
we don't play progressive squid in Bobby's, but like I played it with JRB in Dubai, and yeah, it was 50 big blinds.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like you would see you have these weird formations where like you might be 500 big blinds deep and somebody else might be 500 big blinds deep, but in between you are stacks that range from like 30 big blinds to 100. And now it creates this weird, there's so many weird pre-flop dynamics where like you're flatting to trap squeeze stacks, very similar to tournaments.
Yeah.
But that becomes very detrimental to bottom line in cash if you're 500 effective with somebody else and you're trying to trap a 60 big blind stack behind or something,
Yeah.
You don't want to not play a lowered SPR spot with kings, for instance.
It's true, but it almost becomes like tournaments again where you can kind of, that's super interesting. And you're definitely not, I mean, you're effectively 50 blinds deep, but it's going to feel much shorter than that when there's a big incentive to win the pot, right? So like 50 big blind squeezes are probably a lot more commonly occurring.
Bro, I put in 250 straddles with pocket fours 2 days ago.
Pocket fours. Did you guys know that the EV of limping kings goes up 250 blinds when Berkey's behind you? Are you guys aware of that?
It's funny. It's funny, Guapo.
Thank you.
Guapo kind of knew that.
Guapo ran ranges.
Guapo was aware.
Fucking scumbag.
You have to live in a scummy state
Guapo,
of.
there's a WPT meetup game at the end of the month that I'm invited to.
Oh, you know what? I actually did want to go to that, but I scheduled this lady to put really hot needles into my eyeballs. So I was like, what do I do? Go play the meetup game or get needles in my eyes?
It's funny because I was debating on whether or not to go, and I was going to ask what your availability was.
I definitely won't be going.
Okay, maybe
Why
I'll,
not? It's free money in
maybe
the
I'll show
streets.
up.
Yeah, no,
I'll
good.
borrow
pass.
Guapo's hat and happily limp the king.
Yeah, you know, I might take your place.
Guess who's not fucking invited?
How funny would it be if I showed up and I just play every hand normally and I just limp one time?
Right.
Just like this motherfucker.
I would just fold. I would just muck it all.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to show up with that cardboard thing on.
Yeah.
Wow, ironically enough, I did have fours that hand too.
Yeah, you did.
I forgot about that.
That's what made me think of it.
Well,
You just love 4s.
yeah. Hey, it's a good hand.
You know?
Sometimes you want to flip. Sometimes you
You know what my
get
favorite part
unlucky
of the show
versus
is?
kings.
When we reminisce about the time when I limped with kings and you keep calling me a fucking scumbag.
That's my favorite part.
I mean, I love it. It warms my heart. Like,
Lean into the bit. I mean,
It's so good.
You can't lean into the bit anymore. You have a hat with fucking kings in it, man. You know, like you have an OMC mug just sitting there while you eat your goddamn Greek yogurt and try to take me for another $3.50.
Greek yogurt not out of the carton.
That's protein
is the
yogurt.
most
I'll
old
have
man
you.
type of thing
Protein
you can do.
yogurt.
All yogurt's protein yogurt. You've been misled.
It's got more protein than normal yogurt.
What did they do? Jizz in it?
I don't know. Maybe. Whatever gets
Like where do they get that infusion of protein from? Just a little. Never mind.
That escalated.
You already went there. I don't.
That's true.
I don't know why you're stopping.
I
now.
guess I don't need to.
just keep the
Backpedal.
coins in your pocket, Matt.
The coins in my pocket.
Oh yeah, you'll get that one a little bit later.
Oh, because the strippers. He thought it was
Jesus
so
Christ.
bad that I said in Canada, instead of giving dollar bills to strippers, they throw coins at them because they have
peg
loonies
them. I
and
think
toonies.
peg them is
pretty
what
sure
you
you
said.
said the word
I'm pretty
peg.
sure the word you said
He
was
said
pegging
peg.
them with coins.
Pegging has two meanings, Berkey.
Yeah, I understand
When you're in a
that.
strip
Yeah.
club, they might think you mean the second meaning.
I mean, either one is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you really have to throw them at them. You can't just like toss them on the ground near them. You have to peg them.
No,
with
you gotta let them know
Slide
where it
the
came
thumb.
from, man.
Yo,
What's the point in giving them the money if they don't acknowledge that you're doing it? You know,
Jesus.
you gotta give them a wink and a little right off that bounce that quarter off an ass. You know,
hearing you say
you guys
pegging,
understand?
at the risk of this sounding terrible, hearing you say the word pegging made me feel so nostalgic because I haven't.
You better hurry up and say something real quick.
No, the last time we
He's
used
like,
the word.
yeah, just want to throw it back to my single days.
The last time we used the word peg was, remember playing wall ball when you were a kid?
Oh yeah,
And you would have
That's
to
not
go
what we
up
called
and,
it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we had a different
Oh,
name
we
for it
like
too.
every time they'd be like peg them, you know, like you get all fired up to like really hit someone with
we
the
called
ball
it loose
pretty hard.
booty.
Yeah,
Loose booty.
I think
Yeah.
we said peg them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the last time I've really heard it used until about 3 years ago. The word came back in a big way.
Okay, yeah. Well, hey, we are back. It's Trump's America. You know,
Fucking back.
We're fucking back, baby.
We're back, baby. Pegging is back.
Pegging's back.
Whatever that means in this context. Speaking of back, Landon,
Let's go.
young man,
Let's go.
chip leading with 12 left.
This is
leading?
this is his tournament.
My God.
He has more. He has more.
Oh my-
That's
no,
not
no,
accurate.
no, no,
No,
that-
he just
that is
lost a
accurate.
pot.
Oh,
Yeah.
he lost a pot. He had 11 million. I don't know who took 1.7 off of it.
Okay, but he
fuck that.
started with 3.
Dylan Smith did.
Dylan
Dylan
Smith
Smith.
is a sicko, by the way. I went really deep with him in the first or second win 10K that they did before it was a WPT. And he got so screwed with like 15 left in multiple hands. But his bust out hand was like really bad. I think he got in on the turn with like aces up versus an ace, and the guy just like rivered the two pair. He also lost earlier. He lost like a couple of 3-1 favorites. But then he just did really well in a bunch of tournaments after.
I mean, his Hendon mob speaks for itself. Like,
Yeah.
he literally, I think he won the 50K PLO, and then like he's done nothing but make final tables
Well,
and like all these mains.
I gotta tell you, no ill will to Dylan Smith, but fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's gotta die.
We got a horse in the fucking barn, baby.
Amen.
Did Landon get D-Fish? Because D-Fish was chip leading on his left to start today.
Ooh, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't see.
Wow.
I didn't-
Well,
Go back to
Daryl's
the-
like
go back-
second in chips.
Look at these
No, he's
legends
not.
in the
Is
game.
he? Yeah, go back to
No,
the
go back to the chip count. Look, I
back to
saw
the
him
chip
like
counts. Or maybe he
third
is.
or something.
I didn't notice his name.
Francis left.
Scroll down.
Fucking
Oh,
butt.
yeah,
Boom.
third. Okay, yeah, so he didn't get
did
him.
not get
No.
him.
God,
Good,
look,
I like
you
that.
love to see it. Francis, Bucky, Johnny Bravo in the mix.
Bucky's in
Let's
there?
get it
Let's
fucking
go.
popping.
I like seeing Bucky
We'd
do
love
well.
to see a 1, 2, 3
Are they,
there.
are they bringing the final table back
I don't
out
care
here?
about any of these
Again?
people.
I like the other
I don't
two.
care about any of them.
Are
Let's
they,
go
are they
Landon.
bringing the final table back out here?
No, the final
it's gonna
table's
be there
tomorrow.
So we're all flying to Florida.
You need to
We're
make the
not.
same bet with Negreanu, but only have it take place in
WPTs.
Florida.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
You'd be up like $1 billion right now.
Yeah,
True.
man, we ran so fucking bad in that crossbook. Like nobody even won any money except for the people who bet on Becker.
Yeah, and you had to have a.
Meanwhile, Landon's having a fucking career year. Like how do we get this crossbook in the midst of a career year? If he wins this, he might be around 2 million cashes for the year. But his WSOP is a
Down 100K.
fucking
Yeah,
goose egg.
yeah.
It's just
It was
bad
it was
luck,
a
Berkey.
3-month spot of nothing.
God damn it, man.
Just bad luck, man.
Yeah, this is. Meanwhile, I had like a huge chunk of his first score. I'm gonna have a big chunk of this one. I still might only be even after the crossbook action.
Really?
I mean, I
Damn.
lost like I don't know 150, 200-ish on the crossbook.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a good spot.
Whenever,
It was. Obviously, it was a good spot. It just didn't
whenever
pan
Landon
out.
pokes
I mean-
his neck out, you just got to take a step back. When he's like, when he takes a step back, you got to poke your neck out.
Yeah,
Even if it wasn't a good spot, which I would argue that it was a good spot, but even if it wasn't, I mean, it would be losing so small with how much variance
of
there is. So
course,
it's like
of
you got
course.
max torched there.
100%.
Well, not max torched. He could have just ripped
No,
off
Max.
a-
Well,
Wow.
almost max torched. If he had like won that final Venetian event, Becker made a final table, like the last event that could be played. He final tabled it, but he ended up busting like ninth or something for 10K, so it was insignificant. But if he would have won that for 100, I would have gotten lit the fuck up.
What was your exposure to his actual action? Like, was it over 100%?
Of Landon's?
Like Landon versus, like the
the
differential
crossbook.
of their scores.
Yeah, it was
That-
way, way, way over.
I was going to say, it was like 5 to 10 times, right?
Multiples of
No, if it was 5 to 10 times, he would have been stuck like $1 million. Didn't.
No.
How much did Becker win by?
Their delta was like, it was small.
43,000 or something? 40 something?
Yeah, it was like somewhere between 40 and 70K.
And you lost like 150, so you had like 2x.
Yeah.
2 to 4x, depending on what.
Yeah. So I had some straight bets.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some straight bets. Then I had some others that were like, so I'd won. The thing was, I was getting laid. That's the other part is I was getting laid 10% on almost all these bets.
That's
So
incredible.
it's-
It's so impossible for me to have been a bad spot.
No, that's clearly plus. I think I made a
Oh,
tweet
there you
about
go.
this where I said people are going to act like they knew their guy
Bring
was
that
going to
up.
win.
Well,
Okay, so yeah, it was a 71K differential.
yeah, that's what it looks like.
Is
Okay.
that framed?
Yeah.
Poker arc sent this to him.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Hey,
beautiful
you
stuff.
lost. Take a plaque.
Okay, yeah. So you had about 2x.
so I
Well,
yeah,
no, not
I-
even if you have if you lost money in some straight up bets as well.
Yeah, I lost money in straight up bets also. So I think I had like half of it with Daniel, maybe a little bit more. I can't remember how much pads and those guys took.
Yeah,
Maybe
some with
they didn't take
Vanessa.
any. I might have bought some back. I don't remember, but I was somewhere between like half and 75% of it with Daniel. I had 100% crossed with
Vanessa?
no, that was a straight bet.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait,
No,
no,
it wasn't.
it
It
wasn't.
was 150K cap.
That's
and
right. No,
it-
it was 250K cap, but
Okay.
we were never going to get there because it was small. It was we only did like 10%. I think it was my 12 to her 10 or my 11 to her 10.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting laid a price there.
Yeah.
And then I had some straight bets. I think I lost like 50K ish in straight bets where I was getting laid like somewhere any range between 1.1 and 1.2 on the straight bets.
Yeah, I mean those are insane bets that you got. Like,
Yeah.
this is border like with how much variance there is and how few tournaments they get to play. It's like very close to a flip. So getting laid any prices.
Right, yeah. And it, not even just
You
like
just did it for the whole year.
I know. I know. Fuck.
Hey, do you want to do a lifetime cross book?
I mean, honestly, if you did like a 2-year crossbook, it would probably it'd curb the variance
If
a lot.
anybody, like, it's ridiculous people were laying me 1.1 on just the summer, but like, whatever. It's high variance. You could easily just gamble your way out of that 10% juice that you're giving. If anyone laid 10% on Landon lifetime versus Becker, like you're out of your fucking mind.
Well, it's worse to lay it for the summer.
Is it?
Oh.
Yeah, if you think that your guy is actually a winner. I mean, your opinion, the reason why you're saying this is because your opinion is that Landon's better.
Right.
But
like-
I think, I think it's substantially.
Okay, but if they think that Jeremy's a winner, like beating Landon,
I don't think
I understand what you're
they
saying.
want to play way more tournaments. Like,
Of course.
To say like, oh, I'll lay you 10% on a 50 tournament sample.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you could take
No, you're
my
right. You're right.
sister who's never played poker. Well, that's a bad. But you could take like somebody who's like basically
Correct.
an amateur.
Yeah.
Versus like I don't know, Ike Haxton in 50 tournaments with 2,500 runners.
Right.
And like I'll take 10% on that player.
That's what I said. I said I would have taken either side. And I would have taken literally anybody with a 10%
Right.
VIG there. But yeah, I think like long term, like you really have to be kidding yourself to convince yourself that like the kid who studies isn't going to outperform the guy who doesn't own a computer over the course of like multiple hundreds of tournament sample sizes.
I also found it very funny, all the people who were like, I knew it after they won, they won a coin flip, essentially.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I guess that is the right way to look at it, is that I got paid to flip a weighted coin.
Yeah.
Or a slightly weighted coin, maybe.
I mean,
maybe not a weighted coin, maybe just a fair coin.
It
but
could
either
be
way, I
slightly
got
weighted
paid.
in your favor, too.
Yeah. But either way, I just got like paid to flip coins. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get paid though, Jesse. I took a bath.
Yeah.
You failed to get paid.
Yes.
You forgot to pick up your check.
You
That was-
failed to be compensated, Berkey.
That was my second biggest downswing of the year.
Wow.
Third. Definitely third.
No, second.
Are we talking crypto?
Just now is the
I thought you definitely
target
had
Survivor?
another one. That too. But I feel like you definitely had another downswing at the beginning of the year.
No.
No, you crushed the beginning.
I lost on the cruise, but
Yeah,
I was smashing prior.
yeah, that's what I was speaking of, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Who played in the
a
cruise?
blip in the rate or blip in.
I did.
Or you mean the cash games?
Yeah, like the big games.
It was me, JRB, YoH ViraL, Rob Young, and I don't think anyone else you would particularly know. Oh,
Curtis.
Curtis was there. Curtis Meeks was there.
Why do I feel like if you create a highlight reel of YoH ViraL, Rob Young, and JRB's life, it would just be those three at a poker table with different backgrounds behind them. Like, here's us playing poker on a cruise ship. Here's us playing poker in Dubai. Like,
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Every destination that I go to, two of the three of them are there.
Yeah.
Always.
by the way, YoH ViraL is living the actual dream. He's currently DJing on yachts
Yeah.
in
He's a
Dubai.
what?
Yeah.
In his free time, he now DJs
he
on
just-
yachts, and it looks like it's a party that's only hot women dancing around his DJ booth and making out. This is every story on his Instagram. If you guys don't follow his Instagram, it's the highest value thing that you can
will
follow
right now.
It's so entertaining.
Look at the three of us go to follow
Yeah.
YoH ViraL.
And then it's the other half of his Instagram is just he's created this like really dusty live stream setup where they're not playing that high of stakes, and I have no idea who anyone is except for him. And it's just like hands from that. He's like, oh, is this guy gonna bluff me for like 0.00001% of my net worth? And then it's just back to the yacht to DJ for good looking women.
That's great.
Incredible.
It's really like truly a wild Instagram.
Oh shit! I see him now.
Yeah, I didn't get to experience it because I kept falling asleep whenever he would DJ. But he seems to be enjoying himself, to say the least.
Yeah.
He kept trying to get me to go to this fucking bamboo massage thing where they just like put you in a hot room and beat you to death with like bamboo leaves.
That sounds amazing.
That sounds like something that you'd love, Berkey.
Yeah.
You enjoy the pain so
Fucking
much.
I don't think it's painful. I don't get it. Or maybe they're eucalyptus leaves. I don't fucking know. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Berkey's like,
gotta
I'm
try
out,
it.
but I will go to the place where they hit me with a baseball bat.
Exactly.
Because I know what a baseball bat feels like.
Yeah, and I also know the purpose behind it. It's just to put me out of my misery.
You were a pitcher, right?
Yeah.
When you played baseball?
Yeah.
Were you a good batter?
I was in high school, and I thought that, like, not only did I think this, but my coaches told me, like, I'll never pitch at the collegiate level.
Damn,
really?
Okay, so, like, let me actually set the proper frame. My junior year in high school, I was, like, top 5 in batting average. I led the Valley in RBIs. But I was like a gap to gap hitter for whatever reason. I know what the reason was. I used a dead bat, and I had this weird attachment to this bat that my granddad had bought me, and it was just like objectively worse than any other bat I could have been using. The barrel was smaller. It didn't have as much pop. It was cheap. Like, there was a million reasons why I just should not use this bat. There were times where, like, I remember coming up to bat in one instance in a home game where my friends had taken the bat and hit it. So I just, like, could not get a hold of this. I called it the Blue Bomber. It was this Easton Blue bat. And at the time, I think Easton, what was the popular bat in, like, 1999? I can't remember what. I remember it vividly in my head. It was like a gold and
I was
black.
gonna say it was gold and black.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I can't remember the actual model of it. So I had to use this bat. I go up and I just hit a ground rule double. And they're like, I told you you've been using that bat. You've been using it. And I was so pissed. I was like, give me my fucking bat back. So they finally gave it back to me. Kept using this bat all season long. So I had no power numbers. I hit one home run. But I led the league in RBIs. I was like top 5 in batting average. I think I hit like 480 or something like that season. Then the following year, Z-Cores, yes. Oh, no, it was the Reflex. That's right. It was the Reflex. The Z-Core was too heavy for me. The Reflex. This red one was Model 1. This is what we used in Little League.
Look at that thing.
Wait, so you're in high school, you're allowed to use metal bats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
College too.
College, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, only pros use that.
Ironically,
Use wooden.
so the C-Core or whatever, this bat was like a fucking telephone pole to swing. It didn't have a lot of pop. The Reflex Gold was the one that we used in high school. But ironically, the bat that I was using ended up being the barrel size that they shifted to after we had graduated. So those barrels that you see there are 3/4 inch, 2 3/4 inch, or 3 3/4 inch, something like that. They shifted to 2 5/8, which is 2 3/8 maybe. It's a skinnier bat. Anyway, whole point is I used this dead bat all season long. My senior year, I finally switched and used a bigger bat. And for whatever reason, I just was a fucking strikeout candidate. I think I struck out like 4 or 5 times my entire junior year. My senior year, I could not fucking put the ball in play. But I hit for power. And on top of that, my junior year, I was just a closer. So I threw maybe like 15 innings or something like that. And I did fine. Our team was really good. We had a great staff. We were a really good hitting team. So they didn't have a lot of use for me. My senior year, my best friend Gumby, who threw like 90, he was supposed to be our ace. And he just like had nothing but a fastball. He could not develop another pitch. And he was getting hit around a lot. And the one thing that I got good at is I developed multiple pitches. So I had a slider, a curveball. I was working on a changeup. And I was lights out. So I like led the Valley in strikeouts. My ERA was like sub 2. I was just like killing it. I think I went like 11-2 in high school or something like that. And then in Legion Ball, where we went to the championship game, I was our ace also. So I was our ace on both of these teams. I went like 7-0 or 8-1 or something along those lines.
So you were told your junior year that you'd never pitch.
Correct.
Okay.
My senior year, I had a different coaching staff, and I ran into my old coach who told me that I would never pitch at the collegiate level. And he saw my numbers and everything else, just reiterated it. He's like, you gotta catch on somewhere as a first baseman. And he wasn't. I understand where he was coming from. I threw 80. You know, it's like it's just not that hard.
Shout out to Coach O.
No.
Oh,
it was Krieger.
Oh, it was Krieger.
Who loved me, by the way.
By the way, I
Listen, fuck a Krieger, fuck a Coach O. We're at the final table with 16 million in chips. Let's get it popping.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I believe
Nine
9 or 10.
9,
they
they played down
stop
to
at
6.
They played
Yeah.
at 6.
My dear Lord.
He
go.
said, I soul snatched the Romanian. We have
so you were gonna
piles.
say slow roll.
can you ask for a hand history? Because I feel like getting live hand histories from him would be really nice for the sake of the podcast.
Agreed.
I got it.
Very smart,
Especially
Jesse.
a
That's why we
soul
bring you
snatching.
on here.
This is what I do, baby.
Yeah.
I come in here and every once every like 12 weeks I
You have
come
a
up
good
with a good
idea?
idea. Yeah. Let's go.
Not too bad.
You saying that the guy wanted you to play first base reminded me of one of my favorite scenes of any movie ever is in Moneyball when he tries to get Chris Pratt to switch to first base.
Yeah. Well, not really Chris Pratt, but yeah.
He's
in
like
the
it's-
movie Chris Pratt.
Yeah. He goes, wait, You mean Chris Pratt's the
Chris Pratt's the actor. Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
Why you got to trip me up like that?
My bad, kid. Continue.
I was in my whole zone.
It was Heidelberg in real life, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Yeah, Berkey knows shit. I get it.
Yeah.
No, and remember, he's like,
he was a catcher, right?
he goes, "It's super easy to play first base." Tell him to the coach. He's like, "It's incredibly difficult."
It is one of those positions where it's like on the surface it looks like where you just stick the big dumb oaf who can't do anything else, but you're actually responsible for a lot of things. Like I would say the shortstop and first baseman probably have the most responsibilities of anybody in the infield. Like you're kind of as the first baseman, you're kind of like,
ask Anthony Rizzo. He kind of missed his assignment, didn't he?
Yeah. Jesus Christ, that's horrible.
Anthony Rizzo.
You have to do a lot. You have to do a lot at the other positions, but the first baseman's kind of like the captain of everything that's going on. He's running like all of the defensive alignments and all the cuts and things of that nature. They generally go, they're directed by the first baseman. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's not the best athlete on the field. It's the shortstop for sure, and then the center fielder,
right?
And it kind of like fans out that way. Third baseman and first baseman are just kind of like
third baseman. You got to be really athletic.
I mean, you have to have a really good arm, and you have to be able to move side to side well. But it's very similar to the first baseman. You just don't need the good arm.
I've seen some wild stretch out catches from that third baseman in the past.
Works the same way on the other side, like because you're receiving the ball so often. And a lot of them are going to be bang, bang plays. They're going to get balls in the dirt. So, like, you have... But that's why Heidelberg was a good transition. Like, as a catcher... And truthfully, like, I'm overstating the first baseman's job. The catcher is actually the captain of the infield. Like, he does everything. Sure. But that's why Heidelberg transitioned so well. It's like, if you can catch, you can play first base, for sure. But, yeah, the long and short of that was, like, I understand where he was coming from. Like... I was meant to be a junk baller who thought he was a fucking power pitcher, and somehow like that mentality worked out in my favor. Like I had a lot of strikeouts in my career, and when I got to college, I finally got better. I was throwing like 84, 85, which for a lefty at D2 level is pretty fucking good. Mm-hmm. And I had success there, but I always wanted to be a position player. I was in high school. I was slow. I was fat. I didn't throw as hard as my competitors. And when I got to college, it's like I got in shape. I was no longer slow. And I started to throw harder. And there's a certain there's something special about being that lone guy in the middle of the mound, knowing that the game runs through you, that is intoxicating. But nothing compares. And I mean nothing in sport compares to fucking hitting a meaningful home run, or any home run, really.
Yeah.
It's like such a powerful feeling. Like you just make contact.
Yeah.
It's such a
see that being very addicting too.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
You just get to stand there and watch the ball. Like it's and everybody's so excited for you. You strike a guy out, you feel it, and your team's relieved because it's a defensive play. But like you're never gonna get the meeting at the fucking mound the way that you do at home plate. Whenever maybe if you like end a game on a strikeout, that's really meaningful. But
that was a great story, man. It was nice to get a little insight into the younger life of Berkey.
Man, I miss it.
I especially loved the part where you said, "My friend Gumpy."
Gumpy.
Which I gotta say, I've never been to Pittsburgh, but that sounds like one of the most Pittsburgh things I could imagine.
I wouldn't think of it that way, but you're right. Yeah. You're 100% right.
Like I could think of a name that would be very New England as well.
Go ahead.
I don't like something. Give me a minute. I'll come up with a good.
I think like Hatteberg's nickname would be very New England, like Hattie.
Yeah, or Donnie, like my best friend Donnie. There's a million Donnies.
Yeah, there's a million Donnies.
His name was Golubieski, or is Golubieski, so it'd be like it's easier just to say Gumby.
But you would think we would call him Golem.
Well, no, I think what happened was his brother.
His brother was Gumby.
Yeah, his brother was Gumby first because like somebody called him Gumbieski or something like that, and then it stuck.
That's the most Pittsburgh aspect of
right.
Is you see a name that's spelled Golubieski, and one of us idiots go
Gumbieski, and you're like, oh, Gumby,
right? And like somehow OLE gets reduced to UM.
Right. And a lot of nicknames always got passed down from like the older brother down to the younger brother.
Yeah. That's for sure true. What is this?
Big Perg and Little Perg.
Most popular names, and I thought he said Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
Oh, New England.
New
But
England,
Connecticut's a good representative.
That's part of New England.
Representative of
right?
the names. And we
Oliver.
also are pretty bad with words up in New England. We have a town called Worcester
Right.
that we love to say Worcester.
Worcestershire sauce.
Or if you're on the train, the guy says
wait.
Worcester.
There's not a Worcester, Massachusetts.
It's spelled W-O-R.
no, I know that city exists.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's not a second city.
No, that is Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester.
Wow.
That's Worcester.
What?
Okay, so there's a Worcester, Ohio as well, but it's actually spelled W-O-O-S-T-E-R. Every time I've heard Worcester, Connecticut reference, or is
Near
it
Massachusetts.
No,
No,
Massachusetts. Sorry,
yeah.
Worcester, Massachusetts. Every time I've heard that referenced, I assumed it was a second city or town
Nope.
or whatever.
No, Berkey, it is
I
not.
thought there was the Worcestershire sauce city.
That's
town.
Worcester sauce.
Right,
Sauce,
now
sorry.
it's Worcester sauce. Hey, honestly, to be fair,
Worcestershire.
fuck that word.
Worcestershire?
Okay?
By the way, it's not even Worcester. It's Worcester.
I don't
If
care
you're,
how
if
you
you're on the
pronounce it.
train or a bus,
Sure.
that's how they
I
tell
gotta
you
tell
to
you,
get
that's a
off.
wicked hard word to say.
Yeah.
I-
You actually do Boston better than I do.
Thank you.
For sure.
I thought we were in one of
I'm
those
Pittsburgh.
Boston
It's
movies.
like Boston adjacent.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's not entirely false.
So Gumby's like, that's a natural right there.
top 3 athletes I've ever seen in my entire life. Such a fucking waste of talent.
No fucking way somebody named Gumby is a top 3 athlete.
Brother, 6'4", could light it up from behind the arc,
He was so good at
could
basketball.
dunk.
So good at basketball.
The sick
What
thing
the
is,
fuck?
as good as he was at basketball, he was 10x better
At
at baseball.
baseball, yeah.
And he hated the fucking
He
sport.
just hated
What's
it. Yeah.
he up to now?
Yeah, 3 kids, fucking door-to-door salesman. Who knows?
What does he sell?
Was this guy your friend?
Yeah, but I haven't seen him in 20 years, and I'm mad
so
that he
fuck,
didn't.
I'm throwing one of the
Oh,
bus.
I'm mad he didn't fucking do something with his talent. You know how hard I worked to play D2
Berkey's
baseball?
very jealous that he's not 5 inches taller.
Yeah,
and
this guy could have walked onto any D1
much
college
better
in
arm.
America, and he went to fucking Edinburgh and just like sat around and did nothing.
Yeah, he threw 90 just like fucking around.
He benched 315 like the first day that we got to the gym. Like he just walked in and was like, throw a plate on. Repped it out. I was like, throw 2 plates on. And he's just like cranking. And I'm sitting there struggling with 185. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
I like this guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, it was so
I like this
frustrating.
guy.
He puts Berkey on till Berkey is still friends with him, but he only calls him once every 5 years to berate him for having children.
Right.
Not for having children. For just,
Well,
you
for
know,
having
door-to-door
children
salesman.
For
and,
wasting his athletic
Yeah.
talent.
and
Yeah,
putting his
for-
time into that.
Well,
rather
no,
than,
all of that. Look, if he would have went the athletic route and then ended up with a family and kids and everything else, that would have been wonderful. But instead, he just jumped straight to the family part. And that was like, I got to get a job. I mean, I got all these kids to feed.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, man. Could have been my ticket to the show.
Yep.
I wasn't getting there.
No.
That's for sure.
You could have been like his agent or something.
Yeah, anything, man.
There
I
you
would have
go.
just showed up and fucking watched games. I don't care.
You should have been more like you. When you feed the kids, they eventually go on to win WPTs in Florida.
Exactly. That's a great
It's
callback.
It's a big differentiator right there.
You're right. Do we have any hands or not? Because I'm going to get in the muck if not.
This is our in the muck hand.
We have
baby.
not gotten a hand yet.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get to in the muck.
We're in there.
All right. So this is my version of in the muck.
You're in the muck?
Well, I'm in the muck.
Mucky.
I'm in the muck adjacent.
Okay.
If you will.
Yeah.
So I wanted to basically give you guys a little insight to a high stakes hand, which I think is fun to discuss as always. Also, having Jesse on here, I think it's nice to get some insight.
I can
from him.
relate for sure.
Exactly. But the real reason I'm in the muck in this one is because I don't think I won the max, and I'm not sure if that's a byproduct of just the hand playing out the way it did, or if I potentially made an error somewhere along the way.
Inaccuracy.
An inaccurate. No, I think I potentially may have made an error. Really, what this boils down to is, do I have flop 3 bets?
Yep.
So that's
You're
gonna,
really shallow here.
right. Super shallow. 425 big blinds deep. Is that right?
That sounds right.
No, 450 big blinds deep.
Yeah, that's right too.
No, 25. You're right. We were right to begin with. 425. So the setup from this hand is it's a regular that I play with all the time. He opens middle position, like hijack, folds to me on the button. I have Jack 8 of spades. We decide to call, and we go heads up. There's an ante out there that you guys can't see.
Is there any games on? Are there any games on? Seven deuce or anything?
Oh yeah, 7 deuce is always on.
Always.
Okay.
But it's a small bounty. It's only $300.
Okay.
Not
So
much to
1.5
consider.
blinds. Not, it's
Something.
It's in there, but it's now the read I have is that out of position in particular, my man loves to check raise. Like he loves to not bet his value, and tends to lead a lot more with his equitable hands, if you will, or his bluffs of sorts. So like once he checks, he never has 7 deuce. Like that's an easy one to rule out. He would just bet it. So he checks to me. We have top 2 here. There's 1,500 in the pot. I go for third pot, 500, and he hits me with the check raise to 1,800. Now we are insanely deep here. So peeling puts like 5K in the middle with 82,000 behind. So we're still going to be in an SPR of like 12.5, 13. And it becomes a question of my hand wants to get all the money in, right? We want to find a way to be all in by river at some point. But the problem is at this SPR with this particular texture, it's very hard to get the money in good on this street. Matter of fact, it might just be impossible.
Just way too deep. You just
Right.
be shown 5s every time.
Yeah, pretty much. Or somehow jacks or 8s, something like that.
Right.
And then on top of that, if we delay to trying to get the money in on later streets, the board texture is often going to change in a way that doesn't allow for big bets to really come through where we have the best of it.
So you really only get 2 streets of value, no matter what it seems.
So this is the debate that I'm having with myself. Do I play 3 bets in this spot at this depth? I believe the answer is probably going to be at a small frequency, just because the depth allows you to kind of do as you wish. Like when I should be trapping jacks here at some frequency pre-flop, which means that I should be incentivized when I have like black jacks here to put in a third bet some of the time, just for the times that you set or reset them. You want to play an all-in pot before the board runs out 4 hearts or 4 to a straight, whatever.
Yeah. Also, like if they're like, you want to put more money in versus kings, right?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, but you also don't want to give kings a chance to get off the hook.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing, right? Like I'll be curious to see like what the 3-bet flop strategy looks like, because it's easy to find the value. Obviously, your sets, Jack 8 is pretty incentivized to do so. And then it's easy to find like the combo draws where it's like, okay, well, Jack 10 of hearts seems like a good one, or 6-7 of hearts, or 9-10 of hearts. Like, but a lot of these exit through a 3-bet pre, so we don't even have them at a high frequency. My bigger curiosity is like, where do the low frequency 3-bets come from? So like, would 9-10 of diamonds perhaps be incentivized to choose to 3-bet here? Seems like a nice one, because there might be some diamond draws. There might be like some better diamonds, like king, queen of diamonds, perhaps, that chooses to check raise here. I think that's kind of a nice candidate to check raise with some of the time. Just denying that equity would be pretty good with 10 high. Not positive though. I could be wrong about that.
What kind of sizing are you looking for a 3-bet here?
That's the other question, and that's a good one, Brian.
Thank you.
What size would we choose here? Because the nature of the 3-bet itself is such that it's polarized, right? And the depth of the spot kind of insinuates you need to go really big. But my inclination is that because the depth is what it is and the board texture is dynamic enough, I would guess we play small 3-bets for exactly what Jesse said. Like, we want to get value from kings, we want to get value from aces, and they just are going to have a really difficult time dealing with like a pot size 3-bet.
Yeah, I also just kind of feel like kings with the heart is more likely to check raise to the stack depth, because you just want to have more equity.
Yep.
And then that's going to have a really hard time folding because you have a backdoor flush draw to go with your overpair. Plus, like, clean outs the nuts or whatever. Plus, your hand could be good.
Yeah. That particular hand, aces with a heart, maybe those sort of hand classes exactly might be inelastic to size. But like a hand like ace jack with the ace of hearts suddenly becomes pretty price sensitive, I would think.
Yeah.
If we're like 3-betting pot in position here. It becomes pretty tough to start peeling like one pair hands that are drawing.
I kind of feel like, and I could very well be wrong with this because I don't study a lot of 400 big blinds deep personally, but it feels as though he should have a very thin or small check raising range because playing at a position on this dynamic of a board like this where the nuts changes so often on the turn, playing at a position and bloating the pot with almost everything feels really bad.
A lot of bad turn cards.
There's just so much room behind. You get to like destroy him in position relatively to other situations.
Yeah.
And that sucks for him. So I don't know if this player check raises a lot, putting in a 3-bet makes a ton of sense to me from your perspective comparatively. I imagine in theory you're going to see not that many check raises. So if you wanted to play just calls, that's probably very reasonable.
I think that's a really good assumption. I'm still really torn. I think it'll be interesting to see what the Wizard says because I do think that there's a pretty strong case here for a 3-bet. Again, I think sizing is going to matter. I would guess it's going to be like a smallish size, something in the neighborhood of like half pot. Seems to make a lot of sense to me. My best guess here is that you want to choose a size that allows you to get to an SPR of like 5 or 6 on the turn, because that becomes a lot easier now on clean turns to 2E. And if it's a non-clean turn, then you're going to use like that more B40 size or check back, and then set up potential rivers where you can get some thick value for a bigger size. With all that being said, I truly didn't know in game, and I just felt like it was one of those like check raise probes because we're so fucking deep that he can take a lot of hands that are uncertain how to play and then just fold versus 3-bet. You know, like maybe like some ace jack, no heart type of hands. Where in theory, maybe they don't fold versus 3-bet, but like in practice, he might just say to himself like, I just don't see enough bluffs here. And the ones that do show up just have way too much equity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever kick yourself if you did just call, because that's true. Probably more true in reality than in theory. And then also, this is just like one of those spots where you just get to play. Like if you just call, you're also saying, I think I have like this post flop edge and I get to play in position infinitely deep. And that's kind of nice for me.
I think the last point along the line is when you play 3-bet with this particular hand, I think the equity of this hand versus the range that continues goes down.
Yeah.
Which is a problem now because you do still have to navigate 2 more streets.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're just so deep, like it doesn't feel great.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of a PLO hand in that regard where it's like, you know, you flop the nuts, but half the deck changes the board texture and you have no blockers or redraw.
Oh man, shout out to the those no rat hole what was it, 10 big blind buy-in PLO tables where we would play like 5100 on ACR and you would have guys with 5 or 10 bigs, but then you would have people with like 600 bigs. And so they had to play 600 bigs deep in a dry side pot and there's like the weirdest stuff going on.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I just play call. I'm mostly in the muck.
Look at that.
That's a nice card, baby.
The most beautiful card in the deck.
Especially when you've just called.
Right. It's just, and it eliminates me having like 8s as a trap pretty much, you know, so he's feeling pretty fucking good about a lot of his overpairs. It's also like the 8 on the flop is a heart. Like if a jack rolls off, it's not as good because you can just have a lot of jack X heart. Also, none of your jacks are folding. But it's like, I'm not bet calling many 8x.
You need hands. Like 8-9 of diamonds or something.
That's like it, right? Like 8-9 of diamonds, I probably don't 3-bet nearly as much as the other 8x. I guess I could have like ace-8 of diamonds. But even those like check a fair frequency on the flop.
I was going to say, you probably, I mean, you don't, I doubt you fold any 8-9, 8-7 to the check raise.
For sure
often,
I don't.
But you don't bet them either.
I 3-bet the 8-7 a lot. I don't stab all the time with the other, you know, it's literally just the diamond variety. So I think the only better card in the deck would have been the 8 of diamond turn instead of the 8 of club.
That'd be pretty sexy,
but you know, I have very few 8x here. So he chooses to check again. And I'm aware that I don't have much 8x here. So my hand is incredibly disguised. Like at best, from his point of view, I should have like pocket fives. Like that should be my absolute best holding, and I probably don't have it very often because that's the most natural one to 3-bet. I think.
I'm trying to say you came with the big bet.
No, I think the opposite.
I like small bet a lot. You're blocking too much of the board, but also I think your Jack X hands might really like small bet for
sure.
protection
That's the only reason you're
cheap
reopening
showdown.
here,
Yeah.
right? Because you're so disincentivized to reopen versus that check raising range that you're only doing it for like thin value and protection. So it's gonna be like some Jack X, maybe some Jack X of hearts, but I imagine that one would actually check back a little bit more.
Those draws probably don't want to get blown off. Right?
Some draws, like if you have like ace deuce of hearts, it probably considers bluffing some. Maybe like king six of hearts.
But if you have like showdown value with your draw.
Would I be right in saying that you want to mirror what your best Jack would do here?
Yeah, I think so. And I think to Jesse's point, like we're so disincentivized to reopen.
Yeah.
And we're doing so with like such a capped range that big is just like not really viable.
Yeah, makes sense. The way you were speaking, led me that way, but
yeah, I think you're opening like quite linearly for a smallish size because it can handle a check raise.
Yeah.
I'm a little torn though because the less you bet, the more you can go big because now you're.
That's true. I think the board becomes an exception in this instance.
Yeah.
Meaning it's so locked.
Not that it's locked. It's just we're so devoid of value.
Okay.
Or we're devoid of thick value. We're devoid of the 8x. We're devoid of full houses. You know, he can't really expect us to be as protected as we are here.
We've got like pocket fives, some pocket jacks, I guess, that don't 3-bet pre.
Right. That don't 3-bet pre and don't 3-bet on the flop.
Quad eights.
Yeah. I mean, like
that don't 3-bet on the flop.
Exactly. Like
Yeah,
we're pretty fucking narrow here.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, maybe some of the 8x of diamonds that you mentioned will have, but like it's very, very, very little. So I go with 40%, and we get met by another check raise.
I was gonna say this is like the best part of it, right? Is like if you have aces, how do you not check raise?
For sure, for sure.
I like the way you played this a lot.
Okay,
so far.
So he calls, I call obviously. Okay. Again, I don't think there's any like we definitely don't 3-bet the turn.
I don't think so.
I
highly doubt it.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's like only going to be a pure call.
In position, you just feel so good.
Right.
Like, this is life.
So now the river is a 7, which I felt like pretty confident that that's not a great card for me to get paid on.
Because you expect him to have hands like aces and kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just really fucks you. Because
I do think 9-10... I do think that 9-10 makes up his bluffs on the turn.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it. Like the 7 is better than I think a 10 or a 9.
Let me ask you a question on the flop. What do you
More
think
so a 9?
What do you think he does with 9-10 of hearts? And do you think he does this with 9-10 of diamonds on the turn?
I definitely think he plays check raise with 9-10 of hearts. I think it's such an easy one to find.
And he follows through on turn with another check raise?
I think yeah. When the 8 peels off, I think he realizes that he doesn't have a lot of 8x and that he has jacks full a lot. So he checks again because he wants to just get there for free, knowing I'm going to check back often.
Yep.
And then he has a potential river bluff. But instead, I bet small. And now he's just like, well, fuck you. I have 15 outs.
Exactly.
And raises again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I do think 9-10 of hearts is there. I think 9-10 of diamonds is a very good bluff on the turn because specifically it blocks 9-8 of diamonds. But I don't think people find it in game.
And the check raise you think comes through often on flop.
Yeah, I think 9-10 of diamonds might just barrel turn, right? Because it doesn't have the same properties as 9-10 of hearts.
Yeah.
Even though I think 9-10 of diamonds makes for a better check raise. I think that's the aspect of like being studied versus unstudied. Most people miss that. So I do think he has some 9-10. I don't think it's a lot, but I think he has some. I think it's pocket fives, which we should just stack most always.
One can only hope.
Right. And then I think a lot of the rest of his value is like queens plus.
Okay, so when he does this.
So he bets 3/4. I don't think we have any other play here but jam, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not playing any other sides, I don't think.
I don't see any.
You're just repping so thin.
Yeah.
And so strong.
What do you do with 9-10 here?
I mean, the problem is like queens, kings, and aces is a large part of his range. So I don't think you could do anything but jam.
I think you're right.
But the problem
is they don't call.
That's
don't
my
call.
issue.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like the issue is finding the people that do call this situation and jamming against them and just calling against
Like
the
I
others.
would guess.
If you jam 9-10, you're getting better to call and worse. To
I
call
would
over
guess
time.
when we look at this, facing river jam after this line, I would guess he's supposed to bluff catch hands like 8-9 of diamonds, hands like Jack 10 of hearts.
And you think that never happens?
Correct.
Yes, agreed.
I think those hands probably don't even exist in this line for villain.
8-9 a dime. Yeah, well, I don't think you'll. Yeah, okay.
I'm saying like I don't think villain shows up with any of those hands.
Agreed.
So
You
like
think he's double check raising on the turn with his overpairs?
I think
It's a
that's
nice spot.
yeah. I
if you
think
think
that's
about it.
way more probable than anything else.
He should really only have like an 8 that contains a diamond, or the hand that he has, kind of.
Now I will say I think he could. I wrote out 7 deuce, but I think he can have 7 deuce of hearts.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a really nice bluff candidate for him.
You might bet that on the turn though.
Fair.
Yeah, and
Very
then
fair.
He would just try to shell off on river. Bet turn, shell off river.
Yeah.
It's
very
hard
fair.
in practice. It's like hard to figure out what they're actually checking on the turn. Besides something like pocket aces seems like a natural check.
Yeah.
It's like pretty hard because, like you said, the eights.
It's got to be hands that don't care about seeing a free river,
God,
Yeah.
it's so good.
which is so weird.
And
right?
also like hands that don't need fold equity quite often.
Correct.
So like probably all the bluffs just continue bluffing for the most part.
God, aces feel like such a good check raise here on the turn, and like you just always just run into the fucking boat or something along those lines. When you find a check raise on the turn, like you just always run into it. It feels like somehow, some way.
it does.
It really does. It's like, yo, I'm fucking big braining it with this check raise, and now I'm about to get big fucked because he never has anything else but that.
I feel like I'm in the other shoes.
Big fucked.
You have the aces a
brother
lot.
of big tobacco and big.
Big pegged.
I do feel like I'm in the other shoes a lot. And like Conrad's saying, like, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to check here because I know this idiot is going to
Gonna bet.
reopen
Yep.
like King 10 of King 10 of hearts.
Yep.
And I'm just going to punish him to the fucking max.
Nope.
And then I get shown 5s always.
Every single fucking time.
But the beauty is when I take this line, I don't get jammed on the river by 5s.
That is true.
Which is weird because like I call more than everybody else. So like
Yeah,
you
it's
have
funny.
to go for the thin value. But I do think that like oftentimes they'll look at pocket 5s at the end. They'll go, well, Berkey has 8-7. He has fucking jacks. He has Jack 8 suited,
like,
where
I
he's
call.
not supposed to have any of these hands. You know, it's like they kind of like cower out, and I'm just sitting there like holding like 2 9s that I was bluffing with.
Yeah, it's a really fucking weird dilemma when you like
Yeah.
have aces on the turn, this type of situation.
Did he have a funeral for his hand, or just
He
mucked right away?
tanked a long time, and he showed one of the players to his right his hand, which
Black aces.
made me like I was like worried he folded 5s, but they both confirmed like he would never fold 5s in that spot, which I hope is true.
Black kings, black aces.
I guess.
Oh, they didn't tell you?
No, maybe 9-10.
Maybe. I mean, 9-10 is
9-10
is a good fold.
It's kind of gross.
Kind of sucks.
it doesn't block. I mean, I think the best question that we asked so far is what do we do on the river in our spot with 9-10?
Yeah.
And if we don't shove, then he doesn't block anything relevant. So like 8-9's a way better bluff catcher, like you said.
That's true. Yeah.
So like I think 9-10's a perfectly fine fold if we're not finding the 9-10 jams. And even if we do, it
What are
might,
we bluff?
it might
What are we
still be
bluffing?
good.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if we find the 9-10 jams, then our bluffs will start to expand a bit.
Yeah.
So we will start to have some of those like Jack 9 of heart bluffs. Like that's a pretty good one.
I think we have that regardless, right?
That's fair.
If we're
okay, so
using
like
it.
Queen 9 of hearts.
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
That might be a better one.
Or I guess ace 10's about it. You're not going to bluff ace 10 with the missed flush
I
draw.
might not even reopen that on the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. But yeah, Jack 9's like a really sweet one. Yeah, you don't really want to be, I guess 8-9's blocking that as well, but Jack 10, you don't want to be double blocking your hands that are turning themselves into a bluff.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't looked at this yet, so we're kind of just like theory crafting here in real time. But
also, by the way, Jack 10 unblocks kings and aces, which is super nice.
which is the target now at this
Yeah.
point.
Now we're going for
so
it,
like
yeah.
if he has like an overpair and he ends up folding it, like that's just going to be fine. Those hands are for sure going to be indifferent. They're going to call some, they're going to fold some.
Yeah, at least indifferent.
Yeah, it really becomes a matter of like, what does he do if somehow he miraculously has a hand like 8-9 or has a hand like 9-10? Are those hands ever indifferent? I mean, 9-10 might be.
If 9-10's indifferent, you are not shoving 9-10.
That's fair.
That's for sure.
That's actually a very fair point. Very fair point. All right, let's take a look at this and see where it all went wrong. Or maybe I get the check mark. Who
I
knows?
also think it's a bit ambitious to bet. I could just be wrong, but it feels a little ambitious to bet 3/4 on that river.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
With an overpair, sorry.
Right, which makes me think that it's more in the class of like 9-10 or trips.
Yeah.
Like to reopen for that size when checking is just a very viable option and play bluff catch against somebody who bluffs a lot and finds them.
To be fair, when you find the check raise on the turn with like aces, kings, and queens, you feel pretty comfortable kind of still on river, like so just outside of 10-9. Like you're not in the worst spot, man. Like you're just like, oh fuck, you know what?
No, the problem is that the hands you're targeting to get bluff caught by jam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's like you have queen jack of hearts there. You have, or any queen jack for that matter. You don't sit there and go, I'm gonna call. He might have king 10 high. It's like, fuck it, I'm all in.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have jacks. I know that.
Yeah.
Matt, can I ask you what the pain point here is? I feel like the river is the easiest of the decisions.
It's a
What
flop.
is it? Okay.
Should flop 3-bet, I think, is one. But I think there are a lot of questions here if we don't have our exact hand. So another question I would pose that I find a bit interesting here is, on river, what size do you choose if check to?
That's a good question.
At an SPR of 4.
I think now you're polarizing pretty hard.
I think I would jam.
I was gonna say either pot or bigger.
I think I would only jam. I think I would only jam or go like sub pot.
I was gonna say with 9-10 being in there, maybe you have two sizes because
I think two sizes is very, very important.
Yeah.
What do you think, like a 75-80%, and then
all in? Yeah, that's my guess.
I can see that.
That's my personal guess.
My first thought would be pot or all in.
Okay, we'll take a look at that too. So when we get to the river, remind me not to skip past. But you can see here, like when we look at the equity charts here, this is something that's pretty fascinating. You don't see this often in a single raise pot, where the original opener is not a disadvantage per se, but like the equities run very, 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 very close. You can see that I actually have a slight equity advantage at the top because I am flatting jacks and I have jack 8 where he doesn't. So these equities are running tremendously close, and he's actually forced to play a pure check. That's not super common. Like betting frequencies are low as the out of position player, of course. On the aggregate, they're about 27-28%. But these pure range check spots, that just indicates like how dynamic this board is.
This is set for 425 bigs deep, by the way. Is that right? Or 400 or something really deep.
Oh, good point. Thank you. Actually, I need to change that. No, I had it set for 200.
Okay. I mean, either way, like the deeper you get, the more I would imagine you're incentivized to just play pure check out of position. Because just so awkward being out of position this deep. They just get to do things to you that are not fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you caught that though, because it's going to matter for how this plays out.
This might be a little
on
bit.
turn and river.
This is quite the sim.
They promised me 4 seconds, man. What's
this is quite the sim you're cooking up here.
All right, so you had to wait 7 seconds. Yeah. Not too bad.
Interestingly enough, it actually does start to work in a 1% betting range.
Well, we might be so deep now that it just can't finish the sim, so there's like a rounding error.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it a new one or is it?
Do we just call it? Looking at yourself.
Okay.
I think if you look
I'm
up,
back.
we're back.
I am looking up. We need a confidence monitor. All right. Sorry about that, team. Okay, so we are going to catch back up on the sim. Still going to be playing mostly pure check. We saw like a 1% betting frequency get in there, but whatever, doesn't really matter that much. So now we look at what happens when check 2, and it does look like I kind of got the sizing scheme wrong here. So I went third pot, 26% pot, whatever. That does happen at a frequency. You can see it's low. Jack 8's in there a small amount. Basically everything's in there a small amount, but the dominant strategy here is to go 2/3 pot, which I don't think we're going to see a huge EV differential here if I eliminate that size. So when we look at the EV breakdown here, we can see that I'm making 4.74 here as played. If we eliminate the 67% size and we're just forced to use 26, Actually, I'm going to change it to 33 since that's what. Did I use that in real time?
I think you were like 40, didn't you?
No, it was. Maybe I did.
We went.
So it was 500 open and call plus 500 in the middle from the blinds and ante, and I bet 500. So yeah, I went pure third.
Okay.
So actually, the EV of our strat goes up ever so slightly. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen that many times. I never understand that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the simple strategy here actually comes with slightly higher EV.
I assume that it's just a rounding thing as well,
Probably.
or it hasn't finished the.
When you start to get to like the second and third digits of the EV calc, I don't think it matters that much.
Sure.
Like 0.74 versus 0.76 is still just 0.8 as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go with the third pot strategy here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so maybe this is a byproduct of why the EV goes up slightly. We get to bet almost twice as often. Using the larger size, we're only betting like 37% and checking back at a high frequency. Now we actually get to bet at a much higher frequency here. And what this is going to come with is he's going to be forced to check raise quite a bit more often. So you can see Jack 8 here is nearly a pure bet. I think practically speaking, this is just always going to bet. I can't imagine me ever mixing a check in here.
Yeah. You could also look at strategy EV to see if it's supposed to be pure betting and it's not quite there yet.
I have that there. Okay, so let's take a look.
Oh wait, this is frequency still.
Oh yeah, my bad. It's not frequency, it's pot share.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, okay, so bet. Yeah, I mean it's really close.
Okay.
Okay, we're talking rounding errors again. So we're gonna go ahead and follow through with a bet. Check raise size here is going to be half pot. And you can see it's really tight, as Jesse kind of already previously suggested. Very little from the overpairs, and I imagine these all have hearts. Yeah, so aces with a heart, kings with a heart, queens with a heart. Diamond club combo is actually getting in there a little bit.
Yeah, once you get into queens, you're kind of in that territory of like they don't like they're always 3-betting aces and kings pre, but they might mix queens a bit, and then they have jacks. So like you're not really beat by any overpairs anyways, but
right.
you're more vulnerable to stuff, so you want to get check raises in there.
Right.
But like a good heuristic for people in general is the deeper stacked you are, the more you want to like prioritize the more valuable hand or the more valuable combo. So like aces with the heart do check raising. We'll choose a check raise sometimes, whereas like no heart, you just have to play check call.
Yeah.
I assume the ace jack offsuits are the ones with the heart.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So so the ace jacks are leaning on having the jack of hearts specifically, it looks like. It does check raise all the combos at some frequency, but it preferably would like to be blocking those combo draws.
Why does it like the jack of hearts more than the ace of hearts?
Because it blocks the combo draws. And it unblocks the nut flush draws, which is good for both sides of the coin. Can now turn trip jacks and be clean. You can now be up against the nut flush draw and basically turn an ace and fuck that guy. Also, I think it's important to see like where the bluffs are coming from, and you can see that interestingly enough, it's going to be coming from like the offsuit ace X. So here again, it's going to want to have like the king of hearts when check raising ace king. Then with ace queen, it actually prioritizes the ace of hearts in that particular instance. I imagine part of that is so that you can turn a clean ace and just be good.
Yeah, also you don't have any other like king of hearts hands, so
right.
Yeah,
a little bit of king queen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but king queen's a little problematic with the king of hearts because you have some tainted outs on like a queen or whatever, so you'd rather have ace king in there.
Yeah,
just like really really subtle stuff, but kind of cool to figure out.
Yeah, and I kind of asked like, would king queen of diamonds get in there? You could see it's a tiny little sliver, but it's just like basically a rounding error. So it might just actually play pure call.
Wait, king queen
of diamonds.
Oh, you're talking about raising.
Yeah. I was kind of saying like maybe that would be a nice one to 3-bet him off of.
It says raising's making more, so maybe it's rounding error the other way, and you find more raises once.
That's true. Yeah, that actually is true. So that one might sneak in there a little bit higher frequency if we solve to a higher degree of accuracy. Same thing with king 10. Looks like it's in there very small amount, but this time raising's making a lot less. So that one's probably going to shift into a pure call.
The 5x bluffing is kind of nice, like ace 5, 5-4 suited.
5-4, yeah.
Yeah.
6-5, 7-6. Obviously, these are all the natural ones. 9-7,
8-7 of diamonds, maybe.
8-7 of
what's-
not diamonds. Prefers to not have the back door.
Oh, that's 9-7 suited getting those check raised. That makes a lot of sense. That's a great hand
9-7
right
of
there.
diamonds. Yeah, the old double gutter.
Yeah.
Never see it coming. 10-9 of hearts, as we suspected, in there at a really high frequency. 10-9 of diamonds, low frequency. Okay, so we've established what his check raising range is. Now, do we play 3-bet? And if we do, what size? So it's like in the middle. We play 3-bet a lot. And it's like in the middle sizing wise. It's 75%, not half pot, like I kind of best thought. So he did actually choose 50% in real time, so we're good on that front. And yeah, you could see Jack 8 wants to prioritize just piling money in the middle. Fives actually don't. Fives are your trap, which I guess you're set over set enough, which is why it doesn't really want to. Jacks and 8s, because you set over set him enough, are much higher frequency. And then you can see, we kind of indicated maybe 10-9 will do a little 3-betting. It's only of the heart variety. You can see
the 7-8 suited.
7-8 suited is going to be all combos, which is, I guess that makes sense because all of your trip outs are clean. And, I mean, the 7's not a dream by any stretch because it does complete 9-10, which he's obviously going to have. But we need to have like some 8x in there. So you can see 8-6 a little bit less often. It's funny because if I had to choose between the two, I think I would have picked 8-6, not 8-7 to raise here. And I imagine this probably has something to do with how it interacts with the 5 as far as like his check raise call range versus check raise fold range comes or goes. I imagine he like check raises 6-5 some and then folds. Yeah, that makes sense. So like the spade club variety probably just fold versus 3-bet. But yeah, I mean, 3-betting obviously is an idea here. It even goes as thin as 3-betting ace jack, all combos, but not queens. Queens want to be in there for protection. They also probably suffer more from the board texture changing. And the bluffs aren't like super clear. Like 10-7 of diamonds has the idea that I kind of had with 10-9 of diamonds, I think, where you just get like better backdoors to fold. So like if we look at response versus 3-bet of like how he plays here, obviously all of his overpairs are continuing. He actually 4-bets. He actually 4-bets pocket jacks at a really high frequency. Although I think in real life, like, the jacks just never really make it in there. But mostly like we're folding out all of his 8x at that point. We're folding out 6-5 as I indicated, folding out 5-4. So that's why I think it chooses 8-7 instead of 8-6 because it actually has fold equity against pairs that are trying to realize. In any event, we just play call. So let's see how this shakes out now on the turn, which Jack 8 does mix call at some frequency. I imagine he's going to follow through with a bet here a lot. 8's pretty clean, and he does have 8x coverage in his check raising. Oh, it is low frequency bet. So yeah, he's mixing between quarter pot block and 67%, and never really for a high frequency. It's mostly coming from his overpairs and his sets, or now full houses. His quads are betting, and then like low frequency heart combos like ace 4, ace deuce. You can see in the equity charts, like things still haven't really leveled off. I still have a nut advantage because I'm protected by pocket 8s, some pocket jacks, jack 8, and all my pocket 5s. He has a big advantage here in the overpair region. So that's what you're seeing, this big spike here. That's going to be compared to like my middle pairs, or my top pairs, I guess. But yeah, he still has to play pretty cautiously. Equities are still going to be running relatively close on that card, despite the fact that his overpairs generally are going to benefit from that. You can see the equity is still in my favor. The EV is still in my favor. He's just not really able to pump a lot of money into this pot, even after playing check raise and having a relatively tight range. So he's going to go ahead and check. which if he defaulted to a pure check there, wouldn't shock me. We do reopen a lot and for the small size. So we got that right. Right-ish. I went 40%. Let's see what happens when we change to my size.
It actually feels like a win to get that right because this is none of these are super easy sizing wise.
Yeah, it feels especially good seeing how low, like basically B67's never chosen.
Yeah.
So it's like it's important that we didn't cross a threshold here. I imagine in B40 we're just gonna bet like half the time.
It is weird that we bet so often.
Well, we have more 8x here than I think. Maybe I just do have all of this naturally. I certainly call these hands pre, right?
Yeah,
so
the only question is if you folded the check raise.
Right. So it's like how often am I peeling like ace eight of spades?
Well, you have to bet it too, I guess. Yeah,
right.
You probably have it less, but
the ace eight I probably have around this. It's like the king eight and queen eight. It's like how often am I bet calling with the spade variety? That might be a lot tougher. Facing check raise.
We know
you
you got more jack eight than you're supposed to.
That's true.
So
that is true.
That's a win.
That's also very true.
Maybe more pocket eights? Nah, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Probably less.
Probably less. Yeah. So yeah, we reopen here for the proper size. That's a really good event for us. And we do face a check raise here. He actually check raises more aggressively than he just bets, which is interesting because it seems like that means or indicates that he probably fell into a pretty decent strategy himself. Now it becomes a question of like, well, where is he pulling from? So 7-6 is his actual most common bluff. You can see that 10-9 gets in there, specifically the heart variety. Diamond's actually pure fold here, which is kind of interesting to me because blocking 9-8 of diamonds seems really important and 10-8 of diamonds. Like those just seem like hands that I would have, right? But I guess maybe it starts pure folding because I also have so much queen 8 and that out is now dirty. And I also have so much 8-7.
Well,
so
when he has two diamonds, he's now unblocking your value and blocking your bluffs, right?
Well, he's blocking the 8x of diamonds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's unblocking some value for sure. And he is blocking some bluffs. Obviously, I would be barreling with 10-9 of diamonds myself, as well as other hands similar, like queen 9 of diamonds, whatever. But I imagine it has something to do with just the pure raw equity of it. Like the equity of 9-10 of diamonds is significantly lower than 9-10 of hearts.
Sure.
Because I have queen 8 and I have 8-7. So those outs aren't as clean, where the heart out is just often going to be clean.
Yeah.
So his raise size here is supposed to be 50% pot. Let's see. I bet 2K, which is 40% as indicated. He raised to 8,700, which is like 45% pot. So he got it pretty close.
Nice.
In this instance.
Well, to be fair, there's only 50% in all in, so we don't know if this is like the optimal.
Right. And my apologies. He went larger than 50% pot. 50% pot would have been 7,100. So let's go big blinds. He went 8,700, which is 43.5. So he went 2/3 pot. They'll reduce the frequency a little bit, but I can't imagine it's going to change it a ton.
Can we change the all in to like a pot size bet or something?
Yeah.
Just for sake of.
Yeah, we can look at that. All right, let's go 100%. See if it works its way in there. I imagine it won't. Big seems not incentivized by anything but jacks. Even jacks don't really want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it never really sneaks in.
I don't see a lot of hands that want to do it, but it is kind of interesting just because
it's like exactly 9-8.
I think it creates a size where he can jam river more comfortably, but I don't know what hands would actually want to do that.
Yeah, that's fair because getting called becomes the problem then.
Yeah, and your bluffs it's hard to find bluffs because at some size you're just running into the nuts too often.
Yeah. Like having a 7-6 here isn't as desirable as it may appear.
Yeah.
Because like you're just against trips plus a lot.
Well, like there's a reason why you don't ever have an all-in size this deep, right? As a bluff.
Yeah.
Because you would just lay them an insane price or parlay or whatever you want to call it for them to just find trips or whatever and call.
Yeah.
So you have to go smaller.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so his size is pretty decent. We don't really play 3-bet quads every once in a blue moon, but we're just going to simplify that to pure call. Confirm. And we're continuing quite a bit here. Over half our range is continuing. He knocks out a lot of our dustiest hands. So you can see we're only going to call 10-9 of hearts. Oh, no, that's actually not true. We don't even have it. So we have the other two combos. Our hearts and diamonds would not have played this aggressively, I guess. Jack 9, as we mentioned, this is going to be important for future street bluff. So we could just be winning now at some frequency, but this is going to be one of the ones that we choose from, I think, as a river bluff. Same thing with Jack 10 of hearts. Obviously, it's just a good hand. And then we have like all of our 8X that's playing some form of bluff catch / trap. Same thing with our boats. Although I guess I'm pointing in the wrong area. Our boats would be like Jack 8 and pocket 5s. They don't really need any protection at this point. No worries about getting counterfeit. The board isn't in such a way that he has a lot of coverage on these sort of hands. So we're going to go ahead and call. And the river is going to be 7 of diamonds. Is that right?
7 of clubs, maybe.
Maybe 7 of
Or,
clubs.
no, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Okay. So
7 of spades.
7 of spades.
Both
there.
wrong.
Okay. Might not change things, but let's get it right just for the sake of it.
I have to run. Can we?
Wow, he's leaving us for the fucking min clicks, bro.
Unbelievable.
The guy has to start off the min click game.
He can
My
go.
God.
No, you can go.
Oh, that's all
Don't have
right,
to go
Jesse.
anywhere.
No, don't worry. Just go min click your way.
No,
We're
no,
talking
no, no,
about
no.
full game trees
I
over
wanna
here.
see the river.
And all you want to do is min click your life away. My God.
By the way, we never used 2x as a sizing anywhere in this. Conrad just reminded me of that.
What were we supposed to?
I mean, min raise is always an option.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So river, it looks like he's just supposed to go big. So a little bit of the 67% pot, but mostly should just be these overbets. Let's assume that he only uses the one size though. We'll call it 75 because that's what he chose in game.
Sweet. His overpairs are not betting. So we are not shoving 9-10.
Correct.
But he's not even that thrilled to bet 9-10.
Yeah, you're right. We don't jam 9-10. We were right. We do bluff with Jack 9. Not the heart variety though.
And
Jack
King
10,
Jack. Wow, King Jack's really in there. Which King Jack makes more sense when you don't need to unblock kings because we're not betting them.
Right. Jack 10 just calling is interesting to me. I would have thought that would play all in.
Pocket 5's just calling.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
I mean, we're very deep.
It's 100% pot jam.
We're very deep in a single raised pot.
Well, it's only full pot to jam.
Break the goddamn
Yeah,
sun.
but ranges have condensed.
Actually,
along the way.
I got this wrong.
There we go.
Ah,
We needed something here.
I got it slightly wrong.
Fives.
All right, take care,
fucking
guys.
ruined the
See ya.
game. Fives is
Jesse.
only calling.
So he
luck,
bet
Jesse.
slightly smaller. He bet 63% pot.
Does that change fives? Yes, it does.
I don't think it does. Yeah, it's still 120%. Yeah, 5's still just calling. 8-7 actually just playing near pure call, which is just really indicating how tight his call range is when we bet 100% here, right? So it's not a question of can you jam for value. It's a question of can you get called by worse.
Yeah, which we were talking about earlier.
Right. So what ends up happening is you actually jam really tightly, which means that you don't need to find nearly as many bluffs. So now you can lean on pretty natural bluffs here that have to get to the river.
The Jack 10, Jack 9 of
The
hearts.
Jack 9, the King Jack. The King Jack, I think, would have been less intuitive to me than the Jack 10. I think I probably would have played these the opposite.
Why do you think that?
I would have called King Jack because I would have assumed he bet his overpairs on the end. And blocking kings is nice. I would have bluffed the Jack 10 because I would assume that he has some 9-10 in range.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And bluffing that plus boats is really good. That, I mean, the same reason why you bluff Jack 9, right? Like Jack 9, Jack 10 seem to have the same properties, but I can understand the solver's perspective saying like, okay, you already have a hand that has the same properties as Jack 10. You don't need another one. Let's instead lean on Queen Jack, King Jack as a potential jam because we want to unblock his bet folds, which going back to his range, that bet fold range is
now going to be
look
9
like
10 or indifferent.
Well, I guess like we can just jam and see what's actually folding. Look at it that way. So it's going to be his misses in ace 5. Well, not
Those are his bluffs.
yeah, I mean they're blocking bottom. Pocket 5 starts to fold.
That's insanity.
Crazy. Just crazy. So now it doesn't matter that you block the 10-9 or not, because 10-9's indifferent anyway.
Yeah.
So any of your jams are gonna make 10-9 be in hell. Jacks actually folds. That's wild, bro.
What?
Jacks can't fold.
I'm going home. This
Okay,
is over. This
insane.
podcast is over. Fuck this.
Something's wrong.
Well, it's because of how much we have pocket 8s. It's so dominating in like if we lock 8s to not jam, it'll change everything. So let's just do that for the sake of we probably don't have 8s here at this frequency. So let's say 8s just play pure call for whatever reason, just for the sake of this. No block it. So I think what would end up happening then, if we have 8s play pure call and we lock him to that size, interesting. We actually jam even tighter now.
When 8s plays pure call?
Yeah, because now we don't have 8s as like a fear mechanism for him.
Mm-hmm.
So now 5s, 8, 7 all play pure call. When we do play jam here, same thing. Now Jacks just pure calls, which that's better because
Thank
that's going to
God.
happen in real life. I think 5s, it's crazy, man. I was like thinking like, man, is he going to fold 5s? And then I was thinking like that has to be an error if he does.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's actually just like pretty good.
Because you're only gonna have the boats and maybe a little bit of Jack 9.
Yeah, but the thing is like he's also supposed to call ace Jack, and that probably just never calls.
Yeah, so
it's like that folds, 5s calls more.
it's gonna weigh the other way.
Yeah, it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens if he plays check. How our range is going to choose bet. So we do have the all-in size for 300%. It's not with Jack 8 though. It's with 8-7. Which is strange to me.
Well,
I guess you're trying to unblock
the
Jack X, but like I wouldn't imagine Jack X is calling 300% very often.
I wonder if
Ace
it's
Jack.
That's
Ace
the
Jack
question.
is jamming also.
So let's see if Ace Jack
Jacks are
calls.
jamming. So Jacks are jamming. That makes a lot of sense because Jacks unblock 5s, which probably.
But it folds anyway. What the fuck?
No, I bet I bet it calls
No,
here.
it has to call.
Oh, it's because 5s. Okay, so wait, we have to
What are we doing?
we have to eliminate the bet
the size
because the range that gets there now is weird.
Gotcha.
So we have to give him his full range. Let's give him his full range, allow him to check, and then see if the all-in appears. Okay, so it's less. Now it's just quad 8s, really, as well as like some bluffs. So like king 4 of hearts, ace 4 of hearts, king 3 of hearts.
Okay.
And I imagine this is because aces and kings are going to call at a pretty reasonable frequency. Ace 5 is going to bluff here because it blocks pocket 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jack 9 is going to bluff all in here because it blocks Jacks, as well as 9-10, all of which are going to be calling at some frequency. So let's analyze the jam. I would have jammed Jack 8. 5s calls a very, very small amount.
God.
10-9 calls a lot. Jacks actually fold half the time. Again, we just have to...
The Ace Jack sliver of call.
We just have to eliminate 8s again.
Yeah. Ace Jack has a sliver of call in there, which is interesting.
It'll all go up once we eliminate
The 8s.
Oops. The cancel. My bad. So yeah, whenever let's just make it 100%, 67% pot. Do that. All right. Now node lock it. Now when we jam, he'll be calling. Well, now jam's never played. I can't break the sim to make it do it. But yeah, like it's an intuitive call range, right?
Yeah.
10-9 now pure folds. 5s call half the time. Jacks call.
I mean, that's going to be Ace Jack of diamonds, right?
This one?
Yeah.
Hearts. Diamonds don't make it that far.
Yeah,
Diamonds
I
on
guess.
the board.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And all the other combos fold earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty interesting spot. As indicated, flop potentially an inaccuracy.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew in real time that 3-bet was an option, but felt like it was gonna fuck me in the rest of the game tree because I didn't think I could protect that line very well.
Look, when it comes down to every time you 3-bet the Jack 8, it doesn't come 8. They have 5s. Every time you check raise the aces on the turn, every time you check raise the aces on the turn, they have 5s. You know, it's just the way it works.
I'm not even thinking of it that way. It's more so just like I don't know where I would start to build out my low equity raises on the flop, right? Like being able to find the flop 3-bet here in this particular node with like Jack 9, right? Or with Queen 9 or King 9. Like I just have to find, and even these are the heart variety, so it's like kind of whatever.
Those are kind of intuitive.
Yeah, those are still going to be there, but like finding the 9-8 of spades.
Yeah, that's not
finding like the 9-7 all combos, the 10-7 diamonds.
That's not going to really happen that often.
I mean, look, I'm a creative player. I can reach.
Yeah.
But like, am I going to hit these frequencies enough that he can't just say to himself, he's either got 2-pair plus or a combo draw, and I'm not doing well against that with an overpair. I'm going to exit this hand early.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who thinks that way, the 3-bet is going to perform very poorly, I think, on the flop, unless you are reaching really down your bag.
Because they're overfolding.
Yeah, so they start to overfold, even like overpairs. It's like, oh, okay, well, that indicates you should bluff more. It's like, yeah, you should bluff more, but where are you pulling from?
And we're not bluffing enough.
Right, like where are you pulling from? You have to start randomly clicking with like King, Queen of diamonds and shit like that.
Sense.
Just fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, love the idea, love the concept. Just probably not going to find it enough in practice. You know. All right, that was a fun one.
That was dope. I'm
glad Jesse was here for 88% of it.
I mean, he had to go. He had to go 2x. He was tired of this deep ass game shit.
He did say we did an hour early so he could start the game, and he stayed 20 minutes late. So big shout out to Jesse. We appreciate you.
He's a man of the people.
Big shout out to my man Landon Tice.
Come on, Landon.
Let's go, Lando.
Coming into the final table, big chip lead, 650K up top. He's a hometown boy, trying to do it for the parents, trying to do it for the kids. In this instance, I'm the kid.
We maybe get to see it tomorrow. Is that right? Is it going to be streamed?
Tomorrow will be the final 6. I don't know if it's going to be streamed or not, but we'll find out.
I'm pretty sure it will.
Hopefully. It might just be a produced thing like the Dome when I was out here, but not sure.
Maybe.
Tomorrow we'll be back at noon. Be sure to join us, noon Pacific. We're going to try to have Andrew Barber in the building, so be sure to stay tuned for that. We'll talk to you guys all mañana.
Later, squad.
Peace.